All right, episode 3 of the Buyer's Brief mini-series, complimentary to the Buyer's Brief book, which you can buy on Amazon and get through our website for the total manuscript and all the book bonuses, as well as the recipe that I'm working through here inside of the series. For the market sauce methodology, we've covered the buyer's blueprint. You may call it the marketing blueprint that we developed with John Benson. And now we're onto the strategic brief. And this section was developed after I went through a program with led by a marketer by the name of Ron Lynch. He is the marketing mercenary. You can Google his name, you'll find that he is known as the $4 billion man. Brilliant, genius marketer, and it really was the tipping point, turning the corner in my understanding at the early stages of when we launched our initial membership for our programs back when we were called the AI Author. And Ron and his program, The Marketing Mercenary, was an intense program that was going into the mind of what makes a marketing campaign successful at the end of the day. And Ron has done this and practiced this for decades and is arguably one of the best in the world at marketing and creating these powerful commercials and videos that tell a story and get a message to the market. But also, how do you slice and dice a market into having one product or offer or service and being able to expand and scale by catering your messaging to the different segments and creating specific content that can help you with reaching different audiences and expanding simply by understanding at a deep empathetic level what's driving that market and that customer to buy. And so we've gone through the buyer's blueprint as the part 1 of this workflow. So now part 2, we're diving into the strategic creative brief, because we need to funnel and focus in the buyers that we're focusing on. And now we're going to create the marketing campaigns and copy. And it's not necessarily all the copy that you're going to need for running something, but it's the messaging that you're going to want to build from, and understanding what you're going to want to start to speak and articulate your message in a way on social media, in your podcast, and your content that you're creating, and your organic outreach, and any other way that you're communicating your brand's message. Whether you're a solo creator or you're a big brand, you need to align that not only with yourself, but also with your team. And so the agencies or the partners or the internal team members that you're working with understand where you're going and where you're heading. And that's where a strategic creative brief comes into place. And so as you go from the top down of this section and the market sauce method, we're getting that game plan together that we're going to be able to implement and execute on. But if we're not planning and we're not prepared and we're not organized, then it's going to make the execution really muddled and messy. And so we want to get really clear on this first. And again, with AI, we can take this process that before would take sometimes weeks or months, and now we're condensing it down into a matter of, depending on how fast you're working through this workflow, a matter of even less than an hour in some instances. So this is all about getting everything aligned and on the same page, and testing out different offers and messaging and frameworks that can help you with aligning your brand's market and message to a specific segment of that audience. And then the style guide and the brand tone will help with your instruction to AI and keeping things consistent across the board. Again, your first output generated here, as you see with the market sauce example and all the different case studies that we've got, it is giving you inspiration. Maybe it's 80% of the way there, but you can take this output and then you can mold it into what is going to be your staple for your brand voice and messaging. And it also helps with the team keeping your messaging on brand and consistent across the board. But this one document will have all that information in place, and so everyone can go in and access it right away. You might already have a creative brief for your business, and so you can add that into the mix with this, because I think you'll find some sections of the strategic creative brief very valuable and useful in some way, shape, or form, even if you've already got a creative brief. So go ahead and implement this section once you've got your buyer's blueprint, so that you're focusing your message on those different offer targets. And then you can expand. I would recommend doing at least 3 of the offer targets, but you can go up to, maybe up to 10 is usually where I go on a specific blueprint, and then maybe running a separate one if I want to continue going more and more deeper and more segmented. But you're going to generate a lot of content here and a lot of stuff to review. And so just make sure that as you're implementing this step, that things are coming out of AI and with your instruction alongside it aligned with what you know to be true, and that you're not just giving it full reins to just go off and run and do it and taking it for just perfect example. No, you want to be in here and you want to be working and collaborating with the AI as you're building it, but also just making sure it's not going off the rails. Because, you know, once you have all the pieces set up beforehand, generally you can keep the theme and the context going the same. And as we get, you know, larger and larger windows of context and working with tools like ChatGPT even, then that's going to be more and more factual and on point and in line with it. But if you'll notice that sometimes you're running this, it might start to go off to a different direction. When that happens, we might want to reset and reuse the context and go back through. So again, it's kind of a refined, get the results back, edit and repeat, and then continue on to the next step, which once your strategic and creative brief is done, we can go ahead and create our micro content that we can start to use in our social media and our content and our graphic design, and getting out on more of the channels and having our message land with our audience where they're at. So I'll see you in the next episode.